Subscribe to the Light Sports and Ultralight Flyer web video magazine with hundreds and hundreds of videos now online, including airshow coverage, Rotax engine tech tips, Rotax 377, 447, 503, 532, and 582 engine rebuilding videos, each 2 hours in length, propeller maintenance, advisories and repairs, BRS parachute saves, Bing carb updates, and much, much more. Get a yearly subscription at www.ultralightflyer.com.
Oh my God! Who's this guy come beside you here, Dan?
This is my big friend Tom. Now we're here at AirVenture 2010, and we're looking at an airplane nobody else has seen until they came to the show. This is the new CTLS on Claymar Amphibious floats. And Tom and his father, both Tom Gutman, have been working on this airplane. They are the distributor for the largest distributor for flight design in the United States. And that makes them one of the biggest sellers of these kinds of airplanes in the United States. And it was their initiative to create the float-equipped airplane. So Tom was kind enough to lend us his ear for a little while, and he's going to give us some information about it. Tom, these are Claymar floats, able to float this airplane at what kind of gross weight?
The gross weight, we've added 100-pound gross weight to the standard, so you got 1,420 pounds.
And these are amphibious floats,
yes.
So how does the gear retract on them?
They've got an electric mechanism inside of them to retract all 4 gears all the way around on it.
So you got 2 mains and 2 nose wheels, steerable nose wheel, or how does that work?
I've got differential braking. This Flight Design CT has steerable nose gear from the factory with single handbrake. Part of the retrofit is to add dual brakes to it. So they now have cast string nose gear with dual control handbrake. One nice thing about these floats, they have demonstrated this float to land on water with the gear down.
Ah, really? Now that's a big difference from a common situation.
Yes, and the opposite of that, you can land this plane with the skag that's underneath it. You can actually land it on a hard surface with the gear up. Now, I wouldn't want to do it on asphalt or concrete, but you could do it on wet grass or something to that effect.
This is one of the best-selling aircraft on the LSA market, so there's a lot of them out there. Are these floats retrofittable to aircraft that are currently
Yes, that's basically why we at Airtime got involved with it. There's a little over 100 LSs out there right now, and that's the reason why we did it, to really go into the retrofit market. This was an airplane we had in stock. It is a brand new one, but it's one we had in stock, and retrofitted these floats to it. It was a single handbrake system. We added the dual brakes to it. There were some minor modifications to the firewall, and basically that's it. Everything else is just bolt-on type apparatuses.
Now when you say firewall, I mean, we're looking up here, does that have something to do with the connection points?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically we reinforce the firewall connection point. It does tie into the actual firewall itself as well as into the motor mount.
Okay. Did you have to do any modification back here where the main gear normally would be coming out of that cowling?
Where it actually goes into the fuselage, no. We did have to make a special apparatus that actually plugs in here because on ours we've got a real flat pancake type gear that goes in there, so we made an apparatus that goes in there and then it bolts in here. But no, there's no modifications done there.
Okay, and so this whole arrangement now, let's say you already owned the airplane, so you didn't need to go out and buy a new CTLS. Which I'm sure you'd be glad to sell one of those too. Just guessing.
Yeah.
But if they already had a CTLS and it was one that was appropriate, maybe it's different models or whatever, what would the float addition cost them, and how does that work?
To add floats to an existing CTLS is about $38,000. That includes the floats, that includes the labor to install them, as well as the factory approval. That's basically a turnkey deal for $38,000.
They bring you their airplane.
They bring us the airplane. They come back a week later with their airplane on floats.
And you're located in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Pretty centrally located for anybody around the U.S. or even in Canada?
We'll have, if you don't have your float plane rating here in a few months, we'll have that available too. So you can come to Tulsa, get your floats put on, and get your rating all at the same time.
So you got a lake out there in Tulsa, huh?
We got one or two. No. The mirrors, obviously, you can check the opposite side gear. You can't see straight down underneath the landing gear, so this is to check the other side's gear. The other side has a mirror to check this side's gear. There's 3 points to make sure your gear's down. You've got that as one. The second is right here. This pin hanging up. When it's green, it's grass. When it's blue, it's for water. And then on the inside, there's actually the electronic mechanism for retracting and extending the floats. They've got the same thing, green for grass, blue for water.
For the performance, how is the float affected the performance of the airplane?
As far as performance, it definitely has made a difference, but it's not a major difference. We're getting just over 100 knots out of it, 101, 102 knots out of it, and it's still brand new. We're expecting to probably gain a couple knots, so somewhere between 100 and 105 when it's all said and done. As far as the flying of the airplane, you can barely even tell they're on there in pitch and in roll. In yaw, that's where you can actually notice a little bit of difference. And it is heavier, there's no question. We've added a little bit of weight. Luckily, we got higher gross weight, so it's not a big factor there, but it is heavier, so it does slow it down a little bit, and it makes it a little more sluggish. Handles great. We have a single rudder, which there again, some planes have 2 rudders on the floats, some people have 1. This one rudder does a great job with it.
Excellent. So, the status of testing so far, I heard the other day, I think your father was speaking, and he said you've done about, what, how many hard landings or landings on a hard surface? How many landings on water so far with this particular airplane?
With this particular airplane on the floats, we've probably got at least 15 to 20 15 to 20 water landings, and I would say minimal hard because it lands fine on hard surface, probably 10 or 12, however many times I had to get back to the airport. The water landings have been nothing to it. It is different. If you're not a float plane guy, landing on the water is different. Landing back on the hard surface, there's nothing to it. You pull the power back, come in and land. The thing about the CT, it's a very clean airplane, so most people just had to slow it down. Once you put the floats on it, it's got some more drag to it. You pull the power back, pull it back and land. It's
and
very,
you're coming
very
in to
clean.
land now, and I'm one of those people that likes to do full stall landings. So that means getting the nose back pretty far, typically. I know that's not so necessary on this airplane. Do you have any limitation with your flare?
There will be, yes. Yep. You don't want to do a full flare landing, full stall, full back landing because you're going to drive the back of the floats.
So you're going to kind of come in and do a landing on land, much like you do on water, which typically is called a fixed attitude
That's
landing,
exactly
where
right.
it sort of set it up in a landing environment, wait till you get to the water.
Yeah, the hard surface landing, you can still flare, you can do it, you just can't full stall it. You come into the ground, you pull the power back, you kind of flatten it out, a little bit of flare, pull it back, and it sets down. It's very, very, very simple. The water landing, it's very simple to do, but it's completely different. What I've done so far is literally fly to the water, pull the power back, and literally fly to the water, pull the power off, and then do nothing. I let the airplane slow down, and then it kind of settles down once it gets off plane. So it's different. You basically fly the airplane to the water and then stop flying.
Any idea what you're going to give in the way of hours for a checkout? For let's say someone, again, brought you their CT, they're very comfortable with flying a CT. How much time do you estimate they'll need to get tuned up in water flying? Assuming normal aptitude and stuff like that.
It's kind of everything's a little bit different. We can go backwards a little bit before floats, and we gave everybody 3 hours. And out of the 100 airplanes or so that we've sold, I would say 90% of them have been able to do it in 3 hours. Some of them, like I said, probably 10 out of those 100 have need a little bit more. I think the floats are going to be the same thing. If you're used to a float plane, you know all the rules, you know all the stuff you're going to have to do, and it's very simple. All the guys that have flown it that are float plane guys say, flies great, flies easy, gets off the water very quick, so it's not going to be much difference at all. Now, if you're not a float plane guy at all, it flies a lot different if you're not a float plane guy. So you got to just kind of learn how to get it off the water is really all the stuff. Learn how to do the water rudder, learn how to sail the airplane, because there's different stuff to it.
Yeah, going downwind in an airplane on floats is a whole new environment.
Yeah,
All right, last
so.
question about the piloting side of it. Somebody's already got either whatever license they've got, they're operating a light sport aircraft so they can operate as a sport pilot does. It's just a logbook endorsement to get the float plane?
Yes and no. What you just said is right. If you're a light sport pilot flying it as a light sport airplane, you have to get a double CFI sign-off. So basically, you get a CFI to sign you off to go do a check ride, except you don't do a check ride with the designee, you do a check ride with another CFI. So basically, you get your first CFI to sign you off, you get your second CFI to sign you off, and you're done. That is if you're not flying commercial, if you're just flying it under light sport rules.
And the guard here is for FAA to say, well, we didn't intend for, remember we were calling this repositionable gear at first. I don't know if they're still sticking to that term or not, doesn't matter, but the point was that it's a little extra complexity. It's another thing to think about. So that's why the double sign-off?
The FAA, I don't know.
Go ask your local FSDO.
They'll
tell you all the answers.
There is kind of a little bit, as far as the double CFI, If you're a private ticket, you still need your complete endorsement if you want to use it. But the other thing that you really got to look at is your insurance. If your insurance requires it, where our insurance is requiring 5 hours of it and then 15 hours of solo. So the FAA doesn't have as much say really as your insurance does if you got insurance on it.
Yep. Okay, well, great advice. Why don't we go have a look inside and just have a look at that gear notice system, and then I think that's about all the questions I've got.
Where would we get more information if we needed it, though?
Flight-
You got a website?
You go to your website on this one, I believe.
Our
Is that
website
correct?
is flyct.com, or Flight Design USA is the whole flight design company.
And one will refer to the other, I
Yep.
assume, but your site as the main seller of these floats, flyct.com.
Yep.
Excellent.
Let's go have a look inside.
All right.
On the landing gear, you've actually got a little electronic box right here. Right now, I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's green for grass. That means we can land green for grass. Whenever you actually engage the switch, I'll do it briefly, you'll get a little bit of a color up there. And then if you retract it all the way, these would turn blue right there. But since we're sitting on the ground, we can't retract them all the way. Then as soon as they go, you'll got 2 green, 2 blues right there. It shows that your gears are up and you're ready for water.
Okay, how about
Once-
the water rudder?
Once you're in the water, you actually extend the water rudder with this lever right here. It's a simple mechanism. You pull it right back there, and the water rudder drops down. Once you're ready for takeoff, you do it before you take off. You simply push that lever back forward, and it pulls your water rudder right back up.
Kind of looks like it's an over-center deal. It kind of
It
flops
does.
when you got it there.
Yep,
so it
both
stays
the
put.
main gear as well as the water rudder are over-center devices, so you don't have to worry about them falling or caving back in on you.
Report on this one yet.
I haven't gotten to fly the floats yet. I'll be looking for that, but I do have a report on the CTLS and on all the other flight design airplanes. That's available on buydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com.
In a California desert in 1990, pilot Jack Britton is performing aerial acrobatics while showing his ultralight aircraft to a prospective buyer. The customer's wife videotapes the plane as it loops and spins when disaster suddenly strikes.
Pull the chute. Come on, Jack, pull the chute.
As the plane falls to earth, Jack wonders how he'll survive the crash or if the chute will fall apart. As the plane hits the ground, the customer runs to Jack's aid to find that remarkably he has escaped almost certain death.
You okay? I don't know, I might have sprung a toe, I think.
What's